too much. So, good morning everyone. Thank you very much, Opatija, to be able to speak here at ProductWorld. Very beautiful view, certainly behind the curtain. But there is the sea outside, and I'm very pleased to be here and to talk to you about why people are purchasing a product. And it will be definitely a game changer if you know the why, the perfect why. Because, as you might know, that 95% of the products fail either in the market, either in development phase already, or in market expectations. When you start with ideas first, which means somebody, mostly somebody in the management of the company, knows what the customer needs, right? So we have an idea, we're developing a product, we bring it to the market, but 95% of them are failing. But there is good news as well. 68% of the products which start with a needs-first approach might most probably win in the market. So they might be a success when you start with a specific need what the customer has and when you understand what the customer really needs. And that's very helpful. So what can you expect? Within the next couple of minutes, I will ask some questions to you. I will give you some impulses, some thoughts on why people are purchasing a product that you, in your product management position, are able to fulfill those needs. Right? I'm from LEANheart. LEANheart, we do product management with heart. I'm a product management trainer. I'm a coach. I do seminars, workshops for companies who either start with product management and do the processes and all that stuff, or I help new employees with product management, ramping them up to understand what the why is, why the customers are needing their products, and how they do good or effective product management. Right. So my name is Wolfgang Lienhart, as I'm introduced before. I'm the CEO of LEANheart Solution Consulting. I'm the founder of the ProductWorld, which is the German word for product heroes. It's an association in Austria to connect product management people and people close to product management, and I'm also the founder of the Product Management Summit Europe, which happens this year in November the first time. I'm a lecturer at multiple universities in Austria for product management. I have a little bit of professional experience, as you can see in the timeline. Right, what's my why? I strongly believe that every company will benefit from a customer-centric point of view. When you look at the product and you have the customer in the center, then I strongly believe that this will be successful products in the end, and this will help product management extremely. So my first takeaway for you today is, do you really solve a relevant problem? So relevant is very important. Let me start with an example from my personal experience. I've worked together with a small company in Vienna in the railway industries. And as you might see in the background, there are two lights. There is a red light and a green light. So we're talking about the signals. So the ÖBB, Austrian Federal Railway Company, was claiming that it takes them 1.5 hours to exchange one of these light bulbs if they are broken. 1.5 hours. So they have to shut down the track, so no trains for 1.5 hours are allowed to go on the track. Meanwhile, the maintenance guy is exchanging the light bulb. So they have to go there, close the track, go to the signal mast, climb up the mast, exchange the bulb, go down, and then they are allowed to open it again. And 1.5 hours because safety reasons due to the labor safety. Right, 1.5 hours. And there are different signals out there. Oh, the clicker is not really working. Different signals out there, different signal masts out there. And they took them 1.5 hours. And the problem for ÖBB is, what the company thought is, they do have 25,000 of these signals in the track in Austria. And Austria is a very small company, so when you extrapolate, you think Germany, for instance, is 10 times bigger than Austria, people-wise, so there might be 250,000 of these signal masts. So what they developed was a service lift for the signal mast. So based on a forklift technology, you were able to climb into this cabin, small cabin, go up with the elevator, exchange the light bulb, have all the working tools and the exchange things all in this cabin, go up, exchange it, and go down. And it took them afterwards only 5 minutes. So 1.5 hours versus 5 minutes must be a big success in the market. But what they did not think about was that ÖBB would have to exchange 25,000 of these masts. and they are much more expensive than the originals, because those are only steel masks, right? And you only need this like once a year, maybe, or twice a year, it depends how long the light bulb works, or maybe only 2 years, and the rest of the time the product is not used, so it's useless, very expensive and useless. So they haven't solved a single one of that, because they could not identify the real why. They did not solve the real problem of the customer. Another example I want and they wanted to exchange these big trains. So nowadays everybody is exchanging the light bulbs with these trains. They go into the track, they have something like an arm on the train and exchanging the light bulbs there. Another example I want to share to you is a cup holder for people who are eager to forget their coffee on the car. So when you go on Starbucks or somewhere else and you get a coffee to go, you want to get in the car, you put the drink on the car roof, you jump into the car and you start driving. People forget their coffee sometimes, and they have solved this problem, right? A cup holder for people who forget the coffee on the roof. What do you think? How many products are solving that for that product? Not a lot. Right, so also not here the need was fulfilled. So who is the customer and what are his needs? So also we have to think about who is really the customer, who is purchasing the product, who is using the product, and who is involved in between. We have to think about that in product management, because it might not always the same person. So the person who is purchasing the product might not be the person who is using the product. And which needs are we fulfilling in product management? Whose needs are we going to fulfill? Is it the person who is using the product, or is it the person who is purchasing the product? So there might be, depending on the product, different people involved. And also very important, during the whole purchasing process, we do have winners, directly affected winners, so they really win if they get the product, and there might be losers as well, who lose directly or indirectly. So we have to consider those people, and they are definitely sitting on the desk. If you're going to introduce the product to this company and you talk to them, there might be 5 to 6 persons on the table. Some of them are winners, some of them are losers, and they might not really want to have the product. So one is maybe he's getting profit out of the new product, he's selling faster or whatever. One might lose his job because he's not needed anymore, because everything is then done automatically. And one older person might fear that he has to work much faster because they have now much more contracts or much more purchases done, so they have to work much faster, and they are old and they do not really want to do that anymore. So we have to consider that as well. And when we talk about needs, we have to understand that there are not only functional needs. So what are functional needs? Functional needs is something we describe, most of the product managers and technical product managers describe in their product description, technical functions. What a specific size of the product, a specific length, a specific speed, what the product can do and so on. So things we really can define easily to describe, those are functional needs, all are fulfilled. But people are not purchasing products based on the functionality which brings the product with them. Most of the decisions, the buying decisions, are done emotionally. So emotional factors, emotional needs have to be covered, something like design, aesthetics, comfort. It has to trigger certain feelings, like it's a joy to use the product. There might be 3 different products. The cheapest one is not easy to use, so I'm not going to purchase the cheapest one. But it's easy, because it's not so easy to use. I have to be trained, I have to learn how to work with it. I want to be happy, I want to be proud. It gives me a certain emotion. I'm driving a Mercedes, right? I'm not just driving a car, I'm driving a Mercedes. And there are social needs as well, which are becoming more and more important nowadays. Because impact on society is very important. Climate crisis, right? Green energy, sustainability, big words, they're becoming more and more important nowadays. Like 15 to 20 years ago, nobody was talking about the environment and the social impact, or how the working conditions are for the employees. Nobody was thinking about that. And that's getting more and more important. And people are purchasing products based on that. And the European Union, with some regulations, is supporting this as well. So if you do not have the ESG definitions in the correct manner, you are not allowed to sell, or you have to pay more taxes and so on. So functional needs, emotional needs, social needs, and then we do have qualitative needs as well, like performance, availability, affordability and so on, which are not really functional needs. Right, so we have to consider that as well. And then we have to find out what is the purchasing criterion from the customer. So why is he really purchasing the product? And you might be familiar with the 5-lever model from Kotler defined. So we have the core benefit in the middle, not the product at all, the core benefit, what the product brings. We have a generic product, an expected level, augmented product, and the potential product. And the reason why our customers are purchasing the product is, I have no clue. I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows. Because it's depending on the person itself. So somebody might go for a Skoda Octavia because core benefit, it brings him from A to B. Somebody is purchasing a Ferrari potential product because if he owns one Ferrari, he is allowed to purchase the Enzo Ferrari, which is this one. So you're only allowed to purchase this car if you have another Ferrari. So the reason why the person is purchasing the first Ferrari is not because he wants to come from A to B, the core benefit of the product. No, he wants to be able, or he wants to be allowed to purchase another product. So we have to define our products in the different levels, service levels, discounts, and so on and so on. So on all these levels we can define our products, we can define, and some of them might then fit to the product, to the customer's need, to the decision criteria. Or when we think about wine, what's your criterion when you're going into the store, into the grocery store, you're going to purchase a wine? Which wine do you purchase? 50% say it's because of the price. I'm purchasing the wine which fits to my price range. I don't want to have a too expensive wine, but I do not want to have the cheap stuff for sure. 20% say it's depending on the brand reputation, so you somehow have heard from the winery or something like that, or you're purchasing a wine because of the region. I want to have a champagne which has to be from France. I want to have a Bordeaux or something, something else, so based on the region, or on recommendations. So I have heard somebody has recommended, I'm calling my father, I'm calling my mother, or a good friend, which wine shall I take, because I'm introduced to somebody, which wine shall I bring? They give recommendations. And 5% are purchasing the wine based on the label, because it's a nice design, I like the bottle, I like the color of the label and so on. So 5% are purchasing, and nobody now has purchased the wine because of the wine itself. So the product itself does not really depend. And most importantly, what they all have together is a specific why. So when you understand the why, we can come back, and the why defines the price. I am going to marry, on my wedding I want to have a very exclusive wine, defines the price. I want to get drunk very quick, defines the price. So the why is defining also the criterion why people are purchasing a specific brand, a specific wine, a specific product. If you understand that, then we can work in this direction. Right. Another example from my personal experience is I was responsible as a product manager, as a software product manager in the automotive industry for a data post-processing tool. In the automotive industry, you see that the lines are very ugly, but they are technically true. And that was the important thing. So there were hundreds and thousands of measurements have been done in engine test beds, for instance, pressures, temperatures, and so on. And the customer in India said to me, I want to get rid of those two peaks. Because we're doing our tests, and all the time we're failing the tests, we are not coming further in our development, because sometimes we have these peaks and we have to get rid of them because our manager is blaming us that we are not doing a good work and we want to get rid of them. And I told him we are not allowed to do that. Because the standards in the automotive industry define that you are not allowed to manipulate the data. You're not allowed to do that. So they did not buy my product, because they said, okay, then I will admit with Excel, I will delete these data points and that's fine. And this is what they have done. So they have not purchased the product because it did not fulfill their need. Although it might be correct or not. So they have been cheating, okay, that's fine for me too. Right, takeaway number 2, the customer himself does not know exactly what he wants. But very important for us, we have to bring the customer into the center of our product development. The customer is very important. We have to look at the customer, we have to talk to him, we have to understand why he is purchasing a product. I'm sorry. Right, we have the agile development now, which is pretty cool. We're developing a product, we're designing it, we're developing, we're testing, we deploy it, we review it, we're talking with the customer more and more often, right? In sprint 1, then we're talking to the customer, we present it to him, and he says, no, I want a little change there, I want a little change there, I'm not satisfied with that, okay, perfect. And then we talk another time, we do another sprint, and another sprint, and another sprint, and now we know exactly what the customer wants, and we have exactly all the needs fulfilled that the customer really wants. But in the end, it might not be the product anybody wants, because we have listened too much to the customer. So we have also to find a way to define in first place, do you want to have a pizza, or do you want to have a turkey, or do you want to have a chocolate cake or something? So some definitions have to be done, and some changes you can do along the development of the product. Or this example, very good example, from a tractor. I'm not quite sure how many of you have ever drove with a tractor. I did it in my youth as I was growing up. There was, I cannot remember if there was a single button there, but they have fulfilled all the customer needs in the tractor. If you're fast in counting, there are 85 buttons, 85, like these small buttons with functionalities. The joystick here on the right hand side doesn't really work like a joystick. You only can put it in front and back, so it's not working like a joystick. And then still, if you can see it up there, there is a display with the touch functionality. So I have put here so lots of buttons in there then as well. Right? All the functionality what you really need. And nobody is really wanting to have this product because it's way too complicated. So when you fulfill all the needs of the customers and all the features you put into the product, it might also not be the perfect fit for the customer because it's too complicated to work with the product in the end. Right, and then we also have to think about that the customer is adapting the product to their specific why. Why are they purchasing the product? Why are they using the product? So in this case, the photographer had to put his baby somewhere. Or people in America did this in the beginning of when the microwave was introduced to the market. They were going to dry their pet inside the microwave. And everybody who knows what happens to the cat when you start the button, it did not end very well for the cat. So it was dry in the end, but the cat was not there anymore. And then we have people who are using an iPad because it supports them for cooking. Right? So the customer is adapting the product to his specific need. This is also something we have to understand. Okay, a pretty cool tool which you might know already is the technology adoption lifecycle, which helps you to understand the specific need of different customers. So when we see here the Gauss curve, you see that 100% of the customers who are purchasing the product, right? 25% of them are the innovators. They are the first ones who want to have the product. They are not even asking if it works. They just want to have the product. Those are the people sleeping in tents in front of an Apple store because they want to be the first one who use the iPhone, right? They are not really thinking about functionality, price, and so on. Doesn't matter. Then we have the adopters. Of course, they want to have they want to have an advantage against their competition, and they accept as well that some products might not really function, but you're working there. They understand it's a new product, it's a new technology. They understand that it takes time, but they do not judge you based on that. And then we do have the gap, the chasm. Most of the products fail in here, in this phase. They fail here because the early adopters and the early majority are completely different in their expectations on the product. They think completely different. They want to have references. So whenever you bring a new product to the market and you don't have a customer, and the customer is asking you, how many people have used it? What's your references? You might not sell it to this person because he's in the early majority. He only purchases the product if there are some people out there who he trusts, who have used and know that the product works. So if you want to cross the chasm, you have to understand the specific needs of the early majority. And if you find the early maturity, if you find the references and the product works, the quality works, and additional services to the product, so not only the core benefit based on the 5-level example from before, not only the top, the core, if you have fulfilled that, then you are able to cross the chasm. Right. And then we have lots of hypotheses. As I mentioned in the beginning, we have talked 20 years with our customers. Sales is out there since 50 years, 60 years, 100 years. We know exactly what the customers want. Hypothesis, assumptions. You think you know. Have you asked him? Do you really know? And with Lean Startup model, for instance, you have the possibility, you have an idea, you start with the ideas first, you have an idea to build a product, start with an idea, you build an MVP, minimum viable product, you bring it to the market, you see how the market reacts to the product, to the MVP, you measure it, with the data you learn from the mistakes or you learn from the reaction on the product, and then you extend or you stop the product. And therefore you can use the hypothesis canvas, means in the beginning everything is uncertain, and some of these features might be showstoppers, and some of them doesn't matter. So if you have a showstopper and the people, and you go through the canvas, and you know after you have done multiple tests, you have discussed with the customers, you have found out if it really works, if it really fulfills the needs of the customer. If it's a showstopper, then you have to stop the development of the product. You have to change something, right? And you do not really, and the benefit of the Lean Startup model is you do not do the whole product at all. You do small functions, small MVPs out of the product, and then you test it in the market already, and you fail faster. Doesn't help you, it doesn't prevent you by failing, but you fail faster, and then you understand it, you can change the navigation. So to understand the why of the customer, we have to change perspective, very important. So both people here are standing, they have different opinions on the same problem, right? And now I invite you to change perspective, or to learn immediately how you can change perspective. And I want you to stand up for a short test. All of you, I invite you, stand up. And you put your right hand in the air, up there. You use your showing, I don't know in English, sorry, the one finger, and you look up to the top of the finger, and then you start turning your hand clockwise. So in how the clock works, and you look to the finger. You watch your finger, and then you start doing the same turn. You start putting your hand down to your belly. And still look on the finger. On whose hand is still turning clockwise? Really? So you did something wrong. Now all of you have changed perspective immediately. You were looking clockwise, and then you just looked from another side, and then it's not clockwise anymore. So we have to learn in product management to change the perspective, to see, thank you very much, you can sit down again. You have to understand how the customer thinks and how the user is using the product. Because when you see how the user is using the product, it might change the product development completely. Because in this case, it's pretty obvious that the person who is purchasing the product has no idea how the kid is really seeing the sheep. And then you're wondering after 1-2 years that the kid does not really recognize a sheep because it never seen a sheep from the real side, right? So you have to understand how the customer is thinking and he is using the product. And therefore I would like to introduce, if you're not familiar with it, the jobs to be done theory. So I really love the jobs to be done because it helps you identify the real customer needs and defines which job exactly shall be solved with the product. So Theodore David said, I don't know when, people are not purchasing a 4-inch driller, they are looking for a 4-inch hole. Right? So we have to change the perspective. We are not looking at the product, at our solution, we are not looking at our product, at our solution, we are looking on the need and the job to be done, why the customer is purchasing the product. And then we might find out that he does not really need the driller. We'll see. So how does it work? There is an approach, it's called outcome-driven innovation. It's a 5-step market research, basically. So first of all, very important, you have to define the job to be done. So it's not jobs to be done, like the theory, it's only one job. And in this case, the job is drilling a hole, of course. Easy to understand, I think everybody has done that already. So, and we're looking at a specific job executive, also very important. So thinking back, who's the customer? Not the person who is purchasing the product, the person who is using the product. Changing this perspective. Job executive is the person who is drilling a hole, and the job is we drill a hole. Very easy. The second one is we have to define job steps. So we are not looking only on one specific job, which is the drilling itself. We have to find out what is the customer doing with the product before he works with it, before the job is done, and what is he doing after it, to understand the whole process. And the more of these steps we can solve with our product, the better it is, and the more likely it is that the customer will purchase your product. So we have to identify what's the wall, we have to mark somewhere, we have to put the driller in, mark it somehow, and so on. So all the different job steps, we define that, and then we go into the market. We ask 15 to 20 people out there, job executives, very important, not anybody, it's specific people, it's the job executives. So we have defined before what are the job executives. Those people we are asking are 15 to 20 statistically. What problems do you have in this job step? We are not asking only what problems do you have when you have the driller in hand, what problems do you have by identifying the material you're going to drill or whatever. So all the job steps, we are doing this interview with 15 to 20 people, and then we know, then we can define these need statements, which means I want to be faster, I want to reduce time, I want to be more certain how to identify the wall. I do not want to clean up. Always a mess after drilling in the wall, because especially when I'm drilling over my head, I do not want to do that. Really big problems there. And then we define these need statements. And the next step is we take these, let's say 100 need statements, what we have defined in all the different job steps. We take this and then we go out to the quantitative market research. So then we ask like 1,000 people. Also job executives. So 1,000 of these we are asking how important are these jobs, these need statements as we have defined before. How important is that for you and how satisfied are you with the current situation? And when we have done all that work and we put that together in this nice graph, in this so-called opportunity landscape, we have here underserved needs. So every dot, what you see here, is one of these need statements as we have defined before. And then we know exactly what are the problems. So we have here importance. We know which of the problems are really important to the customers and which are not satisfied at all. So then if we solve these problems, it might be a good product. Because we know exactly what are the problems. We have asked 1,000 people over there, and that's 80% of them had really a problem because they're not satisfied with the current solution. And on the other hand, we also have overachieved features or needs there, which means people do not really care if it's in the product. So why do you put it in the product? It gives you also the chance, the opportunity, if you have these features in the product, put them out, make the product cheaper. Because they don't really care if it's there, and it's the majority. So we have asked 1,000 people, most of them are not really interested in that stuff. Right? And then we do have the table stakes as well. Means they are very satisfied, it is very important, so you have to have it in the product with the current solutions. Right, and if that does not really give you a good overview, you also can do the data cuts then. So means we put in the demographics. We have asked all the people, how old are you, what's your educational background, where are you from, and so on. So all this data information is now used. So we were not there in the beginning and we're looking for women, or for men, or for elderly people, or for young kids. We were looking for all of them. We have asked all of them what's your problems, and now we could identify, okay, that young people do have not really a problem with working with tablets, because they are used to it. But elderly people, they do not really understand how the technology works. So we can also then define a product for elderly people, for instance. So if you know exactly in which region you can go, you can define products based for the needs. Right. So do you know the why or why the customer might use a product? Now we know exactly, because we have asked so many of them. We've been out there in the market, also in different countries, in different regions of the world. We have asked them, and now we find out that people do not really need a driller, because they only want to put some pictures on the wall, and there are some sticky notes which help them putting the pictures on the wall. They don't need a driller at all, so they don't need to purchase a driller, a drilling machine, and all that stuff. They don't have to clean up the mess, because they only want to put some pictures on the wall. Or other products. Or maybe they don't want to clean up, so you invent something like a vacuum cleaner for the drilling machine. Or you might find out that they have problems to identify where to have to drill the hole. So you put a light on the drilling machine. Or they want something, I don't know, can be something completely. And you do not know that before if you do not ask the customers. Right? So takeaway number 4, products are purchased to fulfill a specific hidden need. And when you do needs-based segmentations, it hits completely different in the market, because you would have never sold this jacket to the old lady and the young guy if you do your segmentations as we have learned it in the back. Right, so what are my key takeaways at the end of my presentation? First of all, solve a relevant problem. Second, customers themselves do not really know what they want. Third, customers adapt the product to their needs. And fourth, products are purchased to fulfill a specific or maybe hidden need. So I'm at the end of my presentation. I thank you very much for your listening. If you do have any questions, you can ask me later on. And yeah, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, hands together for Wolfgang Lienhart. Absolutely, we can ask lots of opportunities to ask questions during the day over a coffee. But hey, now, if you have a question right now, or you'd like to challenge Wolfgang on what you've heard at all, now is your chance. Anybody who'd like to ask a question, just pop up your hand and I'll give you the microphone. No? All happy? You're happy? Yes, you are. Okay, lots of opportunity later on to ask questions to Wolfgang. Thank you so much, Wolfgang. Wonderful.